Welcome to the Mark Attwood Show, Adventures in the Cosmic Truth. Don't forget to keep up with my work. Sign up to the email list, please, in the description box. I'm always getting strikes from YouTube. They already took one channel down. You know how it is. A few weeks ago, I did a amazing video with somebody called Anaya Science Witch. It was the island connection to Ascension. This is part 2, so please welcome Anna. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Hoping we got a good signal strong enough to do the show. And I should explain to people watching, Anna's in Bali, and those are frogs in the background.
Yeah, they're going over there. There's a little frog pond as well. So
yeah, I forgot to mention that. I forgot to mention that in part 1, and some people go, "What's that annoying noise in the background?"
Yeah, I read some of the comments. They thought there was a dog under your desk or something.
So, how are you? Have you been?
Yeah, I've been good. I'm just finishing off the 4th book, the final book in the series, explaining this whole process that we're discussing. So the 4th final book is all about the practical aspects of what to do, when to do, how to do. And the ones leading up to it are all of the kind of the theory, the observations, and the merging between the Bible, Ireland, the Taoist, and alchemical painting, and layering all of that up with etymology to decode the Bible and see how it's all relating to the anatomy and physiology of the person, and also that person in harmony with the cosmological cycles. And that's really what is the key that maybe has been missed by many people for a very long time. And there, a lot of arguments going on about this and that, and does it really matter? I think the teaching is what is important.
Absolutely. And for you, any of you watching that haven't seen part 1, it's here. Just go and type in the Island Connection to Ascension part 1 if you haven't seen it. Okay, so where do we go from here, Anna?
Well, I've prepared another PowerPoint, and I guess I can summarize from that where we left off last time, and then
that'd be great.
Continue into a deeper aspect of how it relates to Ireland.
Go for it.
Yeah, do PowerPoint?
Do I have the PowerPoint?
Oh. Yeah. I sent it to you.
Wait, you could put it up yourself. But I'll go and have a look for it.
Oh, okay. How do I do that?
You just click the present button.
Yep.
Although I have found it.
Oh, you've got it?
Yeah, I'm just downloading it now. Okay, so.
Sorry about that.
That's right.
Busy day.
Same here. Oh, no, I have to upload it. Sorry about this, guys. I'm going as fast as I can. Here we go.
Oh, you've got it there.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Fire away.
Okay. So flick over to the next one and see what we've got. Move through these to about number 8 or 9. So this is what we covered last time. So let's rest. Go back 2. And 1 back. And 1 back more. Okay. So last time in part 1, we were looking at the correspondences that I've been making between the map of Ireland and this Taoist painting called the Neijing Tu, which means the inner weaving, and it's talking about the inner alchemical processes that happen inside the human body. And when I went around Ireland for the first time in my life, I took this trajectory which started in Dublin, went up the east coast, through the north, and then down the west, and then all the way down the west to the south, and then back out through Dublin. And when I got back home, I realized that I had the map of Ireland on the wall, and I also had this map of the Neijing Tu on the wall. And when I overlaid them, I really began to wonder about the correspondences, because they're both depicted as an island, but also a human body facing west, with a head, a middle, and a bottom. And this is basically in terms of energy centers. We've got the upper, the middle, and the lower. And this is all of the alchemical processes we need to unite within as a holistic system to achieve different stages of inner ascension. And so in the map in pink, we can see Ireland, and then I've very crudely cut out in Photoshop the little humans doing jobs in the Neijing Tu painting, and I've put them in the relative positions on Ireland so we can see how that all fits in. And the greatest scope of this all is in the topic that is hidden, you could say, inside the Bible codes, which is this phenomenon people call raising the Christ oil within, or the sacred secretion, or raising the chrism. And so if you go to the next slide, because I talked about this the other slide way.
What, do you want to go backwards?
Yeah, what's the next one after this?
The next one after that was that one.
And what's after that one? And what's after that one? This is the old slide show.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Sorry, folks. I downloaded the most recent one. Let me get my technical shizzle together.
I'll see if I can. Your computer. Upload file. Show all files. Desktop.
Okay. Nearly there.
Did I upload something?
So I've just downloaded the right one. So just give me see if I can get this right. I know why. Yeah, it's because I uploaded the one from the last show. So
yeah, I made some changes and
so it's just uploading now. Sorry, folks.
Breathing moment. It's all good.
It's all good.
Yeah, I made some changes because I realized this time I was speaking about this raising the Christ oil phenomenon, but I didn't really explain what that is, because many people will be hearing about this for the first time. And
yeah.
It's been spoken about for a long time. A lot of the stuff comes from the Bible decodes. It comes from ancient Kemetic or Egyptian knowledge. So different cultures are presenting it in different ways. And it was this is the one, yeah. And it was most recently famously talked about by a great researcher called Santos Bonacci, who some of your people commented on the chat about him.
I was watching him this morning on Twitter, talking about sun gazing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's quite amazing.
He's a very, very genius person.
Mm-hmm.
And I first heard about raising the Christ oil from watching his videos in 2015. And what he presents is, he calls it syncretism. And Chinese medicine also has a form of syncretism, and we call it concordances. And if anyone's familiar of that, the circle with the pentacle star in it, depicting the 5 elements, we use that to show that the element of wood relates to the liver, which relates to the season of spring, which relates to the color green, which relates to the human eyes, and on it goes. And so when I heard Santos's work showing the concordances or synchronicities between the Bible and cosmology and astrology and astronomy and things like that, I was like, oh, I get this, but I don't get this because it's new information. So I watched his work a lot, not knowing what I was hearing. I just let it kind of sink in subconsciously, and I think it's all part of it. You can hear the truth in it, but even if you don't really know all of the details, you just sort of listen, and then it sinks in and wakes up your cellular memory in a certain way as well. So raising the Christ oil within. So if we go into the etymology of the sentence, we can start to understand how to unpack synchronicities, syncretisms, concordances to get to the coded meanings. And it brings us into the anatomy and the physiology and what to do with it. So this is an example. Jesus Christ of Nazareth was born in a manger at Bethlehem to the Virgin Mary on December 25th. So this is like packed with code, which is so cool to learn. So in terms of the raising the Christ oil, Santos and another man in a book, I think in the 1920s, called George Carey, they talk about the seed and the oil. And so when we look into the etymological translation, we find this, what is the seed and the oil? So Jesus, his Irish name is Isa, and it means the seed or the essence or the spirit. So the Jesus or Isa is the spirit, seed, essence. So that's the seed. And Christ or Isa Christ, that's the Irish pronunciation. Christ has a couple of meanings depending on different languages. So in the Irish translation, the Krios is basically, you have the cross and the circle, and that is the sun going around the 4 agricultural cycles. So it's showing us the seasons, the sun moving around one orbit of the earth from winter to summer, spring and autumn. And then in Greek, it actually means anointing oil. So then we have this very already getting deep code about what does Jesus Christ mean. And it's essence within us, and also to do with the external agricultural cycles, to do with cosmology. And in Nazareth, this word means to sprout or to shoot. So you can sprout the seed at this location. And then born in a manger means a crib, like we put the baby, and also like a basket or a womb. And interestingly, it also means a place of chewed things. So this is also talking about the mouth, which gets very important in terms of how to do the Qigong microcosmic orbit, which we spoke a little bit of in part 1. The word Bethlehem means either the house of bread or the house of meat. So we can see that can mean the stomach. So we're getting into the anatomy, the mouth and the stomach. Where do you put food? You put it in the mouth. And where do you process it? You process it in the stomach. And then the Virgin, that's the Virgo. She's the symbol of the harvest. She's shown with a sheaf of wheat often. And she's the Virgin Mary. Mary means beloved. And then he's born on December 25th. This is talking about the winter solstice in the northern hemisphere. And this has a lot to do with Newgrange, because Newgrange is aligned with the winter solstice. So basically, the story of Jesus Christ dying on the cross is actually represented in the cosmology, because when the winter solstice, it's basically the peak when the sun starts changing direction from winter to summer. And when that happens, it sits very low on the horizon, and it appears to have stood still for 3 days. So this is why they say that Jesus died on the cross and sat entombed for 3 days in the darkness, because it appears at that time of the year to be a period of darkness. And in the cosmos above is the Southern Cross. So it's in alignment with the Southern Cross, and that is a cross that the Son of Light, the Son of God, dies, and then he's reborn after the solstice, and that's moving into the month of spring for the birth. So this is how we can see it happening outside of us in the cosmology, is the macro scale. And then when we put all of that information into our human anatomy and physiology, we can start applying it within and doing a macro cosmical experience of the Jesus Christ crucifixion, resurrection, and then the ascension. So that's kind of the summary of of what we're trying to achieve with raising the Christ oil. It's a process that you do within to reenact those states, and it happens every single month for everyone. When the moon comes into your zodiac sign, the month you're born in, there's an electromagnetic amplification in your body because of when you raise the seed and the oil. The oil is the cerebral spinal fluid. And when you start breathing, you will then be raising that. So when you breathe in and you breathe out, the cerebral spinal fluid actually moves up and down. And then due to the effect of the moon and the compression effect on you, because you're made of water, that's going to actually start amplifying all the electromagnetics inside that cerebral spinal fluid. And then it passes through the brain, where there's a lot of magnetite, especially in the cerebellum. And then that pushes itself into the brain, which is the upper tomb. And there's all these different kind of areas that you have to move the seed from the manger, the stomach, down to the reproductive organs, up through the spine, up through the head, and then down back into the heart.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
How do we do that?
So do you remember last time I mentioned the microcosmic orbit?
Yeah.
So that's a Qigong practice. And so you can see in this picture here, there's a little man sitting on a chair, and he's standing on the earth, and he's got this constellation above him. So this is basically the depiction of the microcosmic orbit. So what does it mean? It means that the human standing on the earth is going to be in harmony with the cosmic forces and moving that through the body as we connect to the earth. And so this process, you have to be grounded to the earth. And when everything aligns, especially when the moon comes into your star sign, that causes this amplification. And the microcosmic orbit is quite basic. It incorporates, if you can see on the other side of this slide, there's a person there, and there's some dotted lines. And this is showing two acupuncture meridians. So we have the 12 main meridians that connect to the internal organs, and they exit out our fingertips and our toes. So those are touching the cosmos, and those are the toes are touching the ground. And then internally, like the core of the trunk of a tree, we have extra meridians, and 2 of them run up and down the spine. And this is called the Ren and the Du. And they connect in the mouth, and they connect at the opposite end in the tailbone. And so when these are connected at the tailbone and connected in the mouth, we can then start orbiting our energy up and down the spinal, through the spinal fluid. And that is basically how we can harmonize ourselves with the cosmic energy and the earthly energy. And that's in part of a breathing practice and in part a visualization practice. And that is why that Neijing 2 that we looked at, that Taoist painting that looks like Ireland, is actually it's giving us a tool set to imagine all these characters and what organs they relate to, and we can actually imprint that onto ourselves with our imagination, and then we can start experiencing our body in a very creative, interactive way. Because, does that make sense?
Kind of.
So Qi Gong just means cultivation of energy.
Mm-hmm.
So through the intention, the visualization, and the breathing, you're moving energy. And when it goes up and down the spine, all of the nerves that come out of the spine are connecting into all of the organs. So it's actually activating the whole body just through this simple movement. And all you're doing is imagining energy flowing up the spine and through the brain, and then coming down the front. It collects in the mouth and it builds up a lot of saliva. And then at a certain point where there's a lot of saliva in your mouth, you have to tip your head right back, and then you swallow that saliva, and it passes down the front meridian that we call the Ren meridian. So the Ren meridian is the moon, the Du or the back meridian is the sun, and this is the sun moon masculine feminine circulation.
Okay. You've got a lot of knowledge in that head. Let's keep going.
So what is the next slide we've got? So this is a couple of pages from my book, and this is getting into the mathematics of creation, which all relates back into what I'm presenting. So creation, God energy, Tao in Taoism means the middle way. So this is what we want to achieve when we want to be a balanced human. We don't want to be too extreme of this. We don't want to be too extreme of that. We want to be harmonized, balanced, and follow the flow, follow the Tao, follow the middle path. And that is the way of ease and balance and health and harmony. And the Taoists have a creation story. You can see on this page 9, it says the Tao. So Tao is the same word. The Tao begot 1, 1 begot 2, 2 begot 3, and the 3 begot the 10,000 things. So when we look back to this first page, we can see this spiral, we can see a sunflower, and we can see a nautilus shell. And this is showing us what is called the Fibonacci sequence. And below we can see the beginning of that sequence in this numerical form: 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, and it goes on. And what this means is that when we add, for example, 1 to 1, we get 2. And when we add 1 to 2, we get 3. And when we add 2 to 3, we get 5. And when we add 3 to 5, we get 8. 5 to 8, we get 13. And this is the mathematic spiral that all life follows.
It's also called the golden ratio, isn't it?
It is, yes, the phi ratio. And I've discovered through the journey of writing this work that all of that phi ratio code comes into this raising the Christ oil, which is also relating to Ireland and also back to Tara. So if we understand that is the Fibonacci, we go to the next slide. So this whole process of raising the Christ oil within, it's about the crucifixion, the resurrection, and the ascension. And what is that? That's this Jesus Christ process to return back to God, or return back to source, or return back to Tao, to become spiritually reborn, and I guess create the body to a certain alchemical point where you can be free in your spirit to go into your next incarnation without dragging your karma with you, things like that. Purifying the body on this earthly realm. This is also what the Tibetan lamas do, and the Buddhists, and everyone's got a sort of a different version, but it's all essentially the same. And in the Taoist way, if we understand that it is about this Fibonacci spiral, that spiral, as it grows from its birthplace, it expands out and it gets bigger and bigger. But when we do the crucifixion, resurrection, and ascension, we're actually trying to reverse that and go back to the nothing, the 0 point, the start. So this is it. Technically, it's Fibonacci in reverse. And we can see down there on the left bottom hand side of the screen, there's this I with an O. And that is the symbol of phi. And the phi ratio on the other side of the screen, on the right-hand side, we have this number called 1.618. And that is how the 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8 proportionally expresses itself. And so the phi ratio is the symbol, this IO symbol, which if you separate the two, it's ones and zeros. So it's binary code as well, male or female. And you can go into all sorts of symbological breakdown of this, which is like, there's the I and the O, which is the circle with the dot in the center, and that's the ancient symbol for the sun. So depending on your perspective, you can see this I and O expression in many different ways. And interestingly, in the Maori creation story, before Rangi and Papa, the Sky Father and the Mother Earth, there was a creation, like a non-gender creation energy, and its name is Io Matuakore, and Io is the I-O. So it's kind of culturally referenced there too.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very beautiful when you start bringing in like the symbol, the mathematics, and then it all works. So what's on the next slide? Okay, so this is another page out of my book. They're not in the correct order, they're just bits and pieces. But so this crucifixion, resurrection, ascension, this is spoken about in the Bible. We've got all of this, the mythology of Jesus being on the cross and all of the sort of stories around that. But in Taoism, as I was writing this all, I found that the inner alchemical procedure is actually, they're talking about the same thing. And they actually have stages with how many days, months, and years it takes. And what is trying to happen in these stages is bring together three treasures, which is the spirit, the essence, and the breath. And when those three are combined and coagulated through the process of this microcosmic orbit in harmony with the cosmos and the earth, when the moon comes into your sign, so you get the amplification energy to help you do it and refine it. When you move these, one in the breath goes into the essence, and then the breath and the essence go into the spirit, and then the spirit goes into the Tao. So it's basically a 3 to a 2 to a 1 to a nothing. And this is what I've basically made correspondences with, so we can expand our toolbox, so we can know how long things take and what to do. So for example, what is the breath? The breath is basically when you're doing the microcosmic orbit, you are breathing into your body using your diaphragm. And in that process, they say that this, and this is in the Raising Christos Bible stuff, and also in the Taoist stuff, there is an inner embryo that's born within you. And this is the Jesus Christ born in the place of chewing, the manger at Bethlehem. So it's talking about the solar plexus. So there's an energetic activation that happens in the solar plexus, the house of bread and meat, Bethlehem. And the place of chewing, the manger, this is the swallowing of the saliva down the esophagus to communicate that energy into the solar plex, house of bread and meat. And when you've got that, then it gets moved down so we have the upper, the middle, and the lower. And these are the energy centers. And Qigong, we call them dantians. They're also called cauldrons. And in Irish, they're called cauldrons of poesy. And there's a big poem around that. They have their Irish version as well. And in Maori, they call them the three hearts. So once the seed, this Jesus, is born in the manger, he is...
Oh, you've gone. Sorry, folks, we have a signal problem here. Oh, you're back. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Can you hear me? Anna, can you hear me? Hello?
Well, I'm not sure. I think it's still going, so I'm just going to keep talking.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
So this Jesus seed is born in the manger at Bethlehem, and then we move that down through this breathing practice of the microcosmic orbit into what we call the lower cauldron, and this is where the reproductive energies are stored. And the next process is to...
Oh, I've lost her again. Sorry about this, folks. Anna's had a storm in Bali, and apparently that affects the internet. And it looks like I'll have to come back to this.
Okay, so picking up where we left off, I was talking about what the Taoist inner alchemists have given to us, this knowledge, which directly corresponds to how we do this practice of raising the Christ oil within to achieve this inner ascension. And they say it happens in 3 stages, and it involves the unification of what Taoist or Chinese medicine, we call this the 3 treasures. And these are the substances, vital substances that we have within the human body that keep us alive. So we have breath, which is qi, which is obviously breathing in oxygen, and it's also a lot to do with electricity, and it's moving. It's the life force that moves us and keeps us alive in the physical body. And then the essence, this is to do with the reproductive energy that is given to us from our parents, the energy that creates conception, that creates life. And we're born with a certain amount of essence. In Taoism, they call it Jing, but it's this essence. So this is talking about this Jesus Christ seed essence. It's the same kind of stuff. And this is the essence. It gets stored in our kidneys, and we have a certain amount of it that we're born with. And if we can cultivate this and not waste it, we can actually live a longer life, a healthier life. We can start healing ourselves of illnesses from the inside and become not only doing an inner ascension, but we're also doing an inner self-healing. So we can use this process, you know. Many people can do it for different reasons. Like you want to heal yourself of a physical ailment. You want to heal yourself of a mental issue, or, you know, something to do with your emotions. It's all a practice of turning your gaze inward and focusing on yourself and moving energy within your own body, so you can start to be your own doctor, be your own master of your own ship, and your own alchemical laboratory, you could say.
Wow.
Like, who doesn't want to do that? And you can do this for free once a month for the rest of your life, when you know when the moon comes into your sign, because you get a help from the universe.
That's the thing that I've forgotten. There's a certain time of month to do it, right?
Yes. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so when we looked at that part 1, we had that zodiac wheel. So that's a 360-degree circle divided into 12 sections. So we use the 12 sections so we can identify where things are in the cosmos, because they're always in the same position, although the wheel moves around. And so each one of those is called a zodiac animal, and they are aligned with certain months. And when you're born in a certain month, you're born in a certain zodiac. And so those 12 zodiac months take 1 year to go around the Earth, because it's the movement of the sun. And so when the moon goes around the Earth, that's on a different cycle. So that takes 28.5 days to make one orbit around the Earth, whereas the sun takes 365 days. So when those lock in together once a month, that your particular zodiac portion of that wheel will align with the moon, and that will cause a great electromagnetic amplification, because we're made of water. 99% of our molecules are made of water, so we're very affected by the tidal flow of the moon, the gravity, the compression effect. And so that moon comes into your zodiac sign. It stays there for 2.1 days, which also relates into the Bible codes. Jesus been in the tomb for, they say, 2.1 days, 2.5 days, 3 days. It's all a bit of a window of time. It doesn't really matter so much. But when you look at the exactness of how long is the moon, say, for example, my sign in Scorpio, it will stay there 2.1 days, or about 52 hours, and then it will move into Sagittarius. And it will stay there for 2.1 days, and then it will move into the next. And to get through all of 12, it takes about 1 month, or 28.5 days. And so for every month of the year, you're going to get this opportunity to sit with yourself, sit on that chair, like in that last slide with the little man standing with his feet on the earth and the cosmos above him, and sit in that position and move this energy through your body.
Strange.
So,
trying to go back in the slides, it won't go back any further. Anyway, yeah, I'm with you.
That's the past. The past is the past.
Past is gone. Forget all about it. Yeah.
And so then we've got, so what I was talking about before we had our little technical jiggering is that we do this breathing process, and then we have the seed born in the manger, the stomach, the solar plexus, and we move it from the middle dantian, the middle cauldron, and we move it to the lower cauldron. And this is where the kidney essence starts putting itself in to the seed, and it starts imbuing the seed with this essence, which is life force creation essence that we can conceive a child with, and it starts merging the breath and the essence together. In the Chinese medicine Taoist, they call this a coagulation. And this is a coagulation moving this 3 of those treasures into 2. And so the next part of that is to move it through the body. And so this is where we move it into the oil, and the oil is the cerebral spinal fluid, and we move it from the reproductive cauldron, dantian, energy center, and we move that downward but upward and backward, and we move it through the tailbone, and it goes through a little tiny little gap, and it enters the cerebral spinal fluid, and then we can start moving it up the spine.
Oh, I was visualizing that while you were doing it, and then I felt something go up my back.
Really?
Yeah.
What did it feel like?
But just my whole back just went whoop like this, like
straighten up,
like electricity.
Well, there's so much electricity stored in that. Awesome.
Wow.
What else do you notice?
Well, I've got what's it called? Piloerection. Goosebumps.
Oh, I don't know that word.
Yeah, I only learned it the other day. If your left and right brain hemispheres are in harmony, that's when you get what we call goosebumps. But that's I think the real word for it. And somebody watching this is probably going to shout at the screen. I think it's called I think it's called piloerection, and it's basically when you're connected to God, and you can practice it. You know, we should be practicing, and you should be able to do it at will. Is what I'm learning.
Well, so it's a goosebump response that signals that you're in connection with God forces.
Yeah.
That makes sense, because like your skin's your largest organ of your body, and it's all of it is electromagnetic sensations.
Oh yeah, I'm getting it big time.
Maybe the moon is in your zodiac sign right now.
Yeah, maybe this is good. I like it.
We should have checked.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing I feel a bit stupid asking you, but because I remember after the last chat, I was like, oh God, how do I do that again? I've forgotten, you know, because I'm so bloody busy. I don't know. I can't remember how to work out, or I think I looked at it, or I went to a website maybe that you gave me and I just couldn't work it out.
Yeah, there's a bit to it. I mean, I've been teaching myself and devoting myself to learning it for an entire year. And in this entire year, I had to become a cosmologist, an astrologist, an astronomist, a mathematician, an etymologist, all of the stuff that I was not trained in. So it is a beautiful self-knowledge process once you start getting into it. But what I've done is started simplifying it with writing about it and decoding. So the last book is basically going to be like, here's what you do step by step. You go to this website, you get this, you plug it into this little diagram, and then da da da.
Yeah, can I tell you something? Can I tell you something interesting?
Yeah.
After I finish recording with you, I'm doing another call with excuse me, somebody who subscribed to my channel for a couple of years, who's based in is he based in Bali? I think he's based somewhere out there. And we had a call last week, and out of that, I had a group call with about 50 people, and out of that call, during that call, I said I really wanted to do a kind of fitness retreat. And then this guy, Ron, is a fitness instructor, but a spiritual blah, blah, blah. And he said, oh, we should do it in Bali. So I'm having a meeting with him later about doing a retreat in Bali. And then it hit me that you should be there as well and teach people how to do this.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah?
Yeah.
We'll talk about that offline. Okay.
That would be very fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm getting a strong pull to Bali.
Yeah, come. It's well, the weather's kind of crazy, but yeah, it's an amazing place to be.
Well, the weather's crazy everywhere, apparently.
This is true.
Okay, let's fire on. Ooh.
Okay, so
sorry, I'm getting some really. I'm very sensitive, and I'm very noisy. I was in ayahuasca retreats. I was always being told off for being so noisy.
What's your fabric of your clothing made out of? Sometimes you can get a lot of charge off materials.
Organic cotton t-shirt and a kind of hopefully wool-based jumper.
Yeah.
But I did get an electric shock off the tap this morning, which was weird.
Okay. Yeah, I'm electrosensitive too. I got inadvertently hit by lightning in Peru. I don't even know if it was lightning. I think it was they said it was a laser beam, and it came out of the sky, hit the power box on the house just as I was touching the computer mouse, and the whole house surged, and I was the end point, and it went into my finger. And since then, I've been really electrosensitive.
Wow.
So
yeah,
it was pretty odd.
I'm just electric. like Gary Newman's Friends. Ho ho! Anyway, carry on.
Gary Newman, I like that music.
Yeah, our friends electric.
Yeah, I like that song. So if we're looking back at the screen and we say we're looking at breath, essence, and spirit. So what is spirit? Spirit is in Chinese medicine, it's called Shen, and it means your consciousness. So your spirit is your consciousness, and it has a place, and it's got a house that it lives in, and the house is called your heart. So your spirit consciousness lives in your heart. And obviously, what does the heart do? It vortexes structured water, blood through your whole circulation system. So your spirit lives in your circulatory system, and it's always getting vortex because the heart doesn't pump, apparently. It actually spirals blood.
Yeah,
So
I've got a book here called The Sacred Heart. Where is it?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I got it. I haven't read it yet, but it's basically proves the heart's not a pump.
Yeah, because of the musculature, it's actually sort of vortexing and contracting and expanding in these opening and closing muscular movements.
Yeah, you've reminded me I need to read that.
Pull it off the shelf.
Oh, I will. I will. I'm getting there.
Oh, yeah, there's too much to know at the moment.
I know. That's amazing. This is astonishing work.
Yeah, it's like what I've noticed about this all is like there's a big pattern, and when we can see the pattern, the details, they all match up. All cultures have the same. And if we can overlay them all, and we can see like, oh, the Taoists have got all this cool info, and then the Bible's got this, but it's a little bit poetical and we don't really understand. But if we match it up with the Taoists, we've got technical stuff, and then we can apply that to the poetical stuff. And then we've actually got more of a blueprint for getting stuff done.
Yeah.
So that's what I like, really practical things, because I'm a practitioner. So I like identify the problem, find the solution, and get the outcome. So a lot of the older texts I read on this work, George Carey, he's a physician, but he wrote it in a very sort of loose poetical way. And I'm like, does that mean this? What is the neuroscience behind that? Look it up. Is it true? You know, I really wanted to make it as practical as possible. And so that's where Taoism is really cool. And what this page is showing us is that they explain this process. It's got stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. And stage 1 takes 100 days. And stage 2 takes 10 months. And stage 3 takes 9 years. And that should be the umbrella of time that you can do this monthly practice to achieve the spiritual ascension.
It takes 10 years.
9 years.
No.
But
9 years.
No, these stages are barriers to get through. So
okay. 9 years. How long have you been doing it?
I've been doing it for 14 cycles, so since January 2022.
Wow.
That's when I've been officially doing it. But I have noticed in the past that when I have these moments where I'm like, oh, I feel super psychic today, or I'm dot connecting like I never have before, and then I look back in the moon calendar and I'm like, oh, of course, the moon was in my sign. I was getting an electromagnetic amplification in my brain, and I did get smarter. So if you look back at moments of your life, and you can go back in the Moon Tracks website, and you can be like, oh, on that day where I had that amazing ayahuasca, download, whatever, maybe that's when the moon was in your sign and you understood the universe at that point.
So I really want to find out when the moon is in my sign every month.
Yep.
And then sit and practice this in kind of meditation.
Yeah, Qigong is like an active participatory energy movement. So where with the visualization and the imagination, we're moving energy. Some Qigong is like a moving Qigong where you're actually moving around.
Yeah, I've done that.
This Qigong is you just sit there and with your mind and your breathing,
and your
you move the energy.
Yeah,
and that's why
that's what I was doing. I was visualizing what you were saying.
And then you got it.
And then I had that thing. Yeah. Wow.
Maybe you're a monk in a past life.
Well, I've been called worse. Well, how do I find out when the moon's in my sign?
So that website I mentioned, moontracks.com.
I couldn't make any sense of it.
So yeah, it has a few different texts on there.
I mean,
Basically,
I remember looking at it going, when hello, this is the 90s, we want our website back. I get very frustrated with things like that. I'm an Aries. I've got no patience.
okay.
Here it is. Look, there's bloody adverts everywhere. Right.
Yeah, there's a little bit like that, but at least we got the info for free. And so where it says moon calendars, you go down to that second one, astrology calendar 2023, and that gold button. Yes.
Oh, IKEA.
Oh, and buy some IKEA. So February 28th. Okay, so it's a yellow box we're looking at. That's today. Mm-hmm. And you can see in that blue writing, it's got moon, arrow, Cancer. Moon enters Cancer.
Right. So this was me last week.
Yes. So that says at 9:13 p.m. PST, Pacific Standard Time, the moon entered Aries. And then if you look from the 21st to the 22nd to the 23rd to the 24th.
Where does it say PST?
Oh, it's got it in the black at the bottom outside the chart on the bottom left. All prices are in IKEA priced.
So that's the 2.5 day period for me was actually last week.
Yeah, so you'll notice that if you count forward from Aries and you're looking at the blue writing again, which is describing the moon, you'll see that at 12:29 a.m. moon goes to Taurus. So it's leaving Aries now. Okay, so that I've always calculated, and this general time where it goes from Aries to Taurus, Taurus to Gemini, on we go, about 52 hours.
So I've got to start doing this on the 21st of March.
Yeah.
And
you have to because you're in GMT time, so you've got to calculate from PST to GMT if you want to observe these exact entry and exit times.
And so during that 2.5 day, what was it, 2.5 days? How long is it?
2.1 days technically. 52 hours, 51 hours.
So during that 2.1 days, how often do you do this?
Yeah. So I've been experimenting with different ways. So in the Bible, especially at the time of crucifixion, there's a big story around that. Like he was put on the cross at 9, and then by 3 p.m. the sky turned dark, and then by 6 o'clock he had passed out of his physical body, and then he was put in the tomb. So that I've been experimenting with doing meditations at 9, at 12 noon, at 3, at 6. But in general Qigong, it's always advisable to do it at midnight, 6 a.m., midday, 6 p.m. if you can. You don't have to. But these are essentially, the cross-quarter times of a 24-hour cycle, right? And so when the sun hits high noon, this is the highest period of the yang energy. And when midnight comes, it's the highest period of the yin energy. And then the balance points are sunrise and sunset. So they're very good times to be doing energetic movements, because you're moving with the harmony of the cosmos to help you, as the micro version, maximize your electromagnetic potential.
Cool. I'm going to have to rewatch this. Should we carry on with the slides? Because we're running out of time.
Yeah. How long have we got?
20 minutes.
20 minutes. Ooh, okay. So in all of this, what I calculated is that, they've got stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, days, months, years. I wanted to equalize the values, so I put all of those into months. And what came out at the end, if we look to the second page, 10.10 rounded 1010 binary code IO. Fibonacci ratio.
Wow.
And interestingly, in stage 3, which is said to take 9 years, which is the total sum, that's 108, which relates back to Fibonacci in another breakdown way. And it also relates to the Buddhist Tara. So we have a Tara of Ireland, but we also have a Buddhist Tara, and she's like the female Buddha. And so they have the 108 mala beads on the mala. That's all about the cycles as well. So it's, yeah, symbols, numerology, mathematics, it's all there for us to see the pattern. So that's what we're doing. That's the whole goal of this, is to harmonize the self with the cosmic and earthly cycles, so you move with nature, you don't move opposing nature, so you don't stress out your body, so you don't weaken your immune system, so you don't get illnesses, and in another aspect, if you're really devoted and you want to become the inner resurrected Tibetan Lama that disappears into a puff of smoke, then there's that aspect to it as well. But everyone's got a different goal in this life, right? So
there are millions.
There
are millions of recorded cases of monks meditating and disappearing and leaving behind a husk. In China.
Yeah. I was looking at this. My friend recently sent me an article which shows that the monk would basically die as the Buddha, and then they would cremate his body, and then what came out of the ashes was all these little crystals popping off like popcorn. And so this is essentially moving from carbon to crystal, right? And they literally turn into crystals.
Well, that's what's happening to us.
Yes. So we can optimize that and become more sparkly.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's have a look at the next slide, see what we've got. So how does this all relate to Ireland and the megaliths of Ireland? I'm going to focus the little bit of time we've got on the heart center. So in that process of merging the breath with the essence, with the spirit that resides in the heart, we're coagulating alchemically these inner substances, and we want to bring it all back into the heart. The heart is the center, the middle Mead, fifth province of Ireland, right? The Uisneach and Tara is all settled in what would be the anatomical position of the heart if we look at Ireland as a body compared to the Neijing to compared to where the heart location is. And on the back side of that, and on the front side of that, I'm basically putting on the back side, the spinal side, on the Du meridian, the male meridian. This is where we would have the complex of Brunaboyne, which means Valley of the White Cow, which has Newgrange and Nowthendalf. And so I'm relating this anatomically to the heart as Newgrange and Nowthendalf as the lungs. And so when we're breathing in and out and moving that cerebral spinal fluid up the spine, we're actually moving it through this Valley of the White Cow, which is the cow symbology is always about fertility and creation and conception. And so at this time of the winter solstice, which we discussed in the Jesus Christ of Nazareth is born in a manger at Bethlehem, this winter solstice energy, as most people know anything about Ireland and Newgrange, it enters the Newgrange tomb, which is shaped like a cross, on the winter solstice, and it lights up. So this is basically the sun, the sky father, the father of light, entering the womb, the earth mother. So this is basically an immaculate conception in the heart from the cosmos entering the earth and the telluric forces joining together. And so in Chinese medicine as well, the breathing mechanism is actually not just about the lungs, it's also about the kidneys. And so the kidneys and the lungs work together with the diaphragm to help bring in oxygen and pull it into the body. And so this is how I'm kind of viewing, like, if that megalith was that in the body, what would it do and what would its structure and function do? So if we go to the next slide, we can see, so in the upper left corner, we've got the River Boyne, and then above that, we've got Newgrange in the centre and Nowthendalf either side. So if we look across on the slide, we've got the anatomy of the heart and the lungs, making cross correlations. And then in between that, we've got the bronchioles of the lungs, which are the tubes, the air passages. And as they branch off, they make little sort of fruiting body looking things. And if we looked at an image of Nauth, we can see Nauth is one main sort of monument, and it has lots of little smaller circles around it. So I'm kind of seeing it as like, Nauth and Dauth are quite different, but they are a pair that all relates with Newgrange, because the Newgrange winter solstice lights up that chamber, but then the winter solstice sunset lights up Dauth, which means darkness. And then Nauth is aligned with some lunar cycles. So this is a theory, obviously, because it's, the body of Ireland as the human body. It's a logical theory, though, because of the location. And also, Nauth and Dauth have quite different characteristics in terms of their structures as well. And they've been damaged as well. Dauth is quite damaged. So in terms of this whole metaphysical function of Ireland, there's some fixing that needs to happen so we can get this macrocosmic Earth Mother back to a function, right?
Yeah.
So next slide.
Yep.
Right. So Tara's been in the news. Yeah. That was quite recent, right? Like 3 weeks ago?
I didn't see this, no.
You didn't see this? I
No.
think it was just after our part 1, like a week after.
Completely missed that.
Yeah. Someone sprayed this on the Leafall, which is the main famous megalith stone, phallic-shaped stone in the Hill of Tara. And someone sprayed fake on it. And with the research I've done about Tara, I'm like, well, they're not actually wrong.
Well,
it's quite interesting.
No, it's very interesting, because did you see the video I did in the Stone Circle in England recently?
No, what did you do?
Viewers that have heard this story 20 times, I do apologise. I've just got to fill Anya in. I went over to Derbyshire. I met a mystic healer called Gillian, England. She wanted to show me this energy point in the middle of the Peak District, and from there we went to this stone circle called Arbor Low. And when I got inside Arbor Low, which is at the intersection of 9 ley lines in the UK,
only 9,
I got told this is the most powerful stone circle in the UK, if not the world. And then I got told there was a blockage over there. So I ran over to this mound and found a great big square stone with Victoria Regina on it, and knew immediately that they'd been rerouting or blocking the energy from this thing. And they also told me Stonehenge and what's the other one called? I can't remember what it's called. The other famous one in England are misplaced.
Avebury?
Avebury, yeah. They're misplaced. They've been shifted. So the energy, so they're distractions. So everybody's putting their energy into something in the wrong place, basically.
Siphoning energy.
Yeah. So this fake, whoever put that on, needs a round of applause, because I instinctively knew that.
Yeah, because it's in the wrong position.
Yeah. Because that's what they've done. That's what they've done with everything. I just got a book called Pie in the Sky. Have you read that book? P.I. in the Sky?
I have not.
It arrived yesterday. I just started reading it. It's a breakdown of all the megalithic sites in Ireland. And there's a chapter on Carrickeel, which I've started on, not finished yet. And the ancient knowledge and it all links up with everything you're saying.
Amazing. Oh yeah, I'll have to get myself a copy of that one.
Yeah,
because it's just when you go into it, it's like layers deep, and it's like there's no end to how.
I know, it's amazing. It's amazing, and it's all kind of they should be taught in schools, but obviously, schools of the future. We've got to fix. We've got to fix this place first.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what I've discovered with this whole Tara stuff. It's like, okay. And the story around Tara, like when I was trying to write the chapter on Tara, I went round in circles, like, what is going on? And I think the whole backstory of it all is somehow giving the story that they've created around the Leah Fall legitimizes the story that they're getting everyone to believe about the king and queen's rights to inauguration.
This is the book.
Okay.
See it? I just wanted to show you it.
Cool. Michael
Poinder. Yeah. Apparently he lives now around here. I need to get a hold of him. But
we should be friends.
I need to read the book first because I feel a bit of an idiot. Okay, sorry, carry on.
Okay, so someone did some poignant stuff about 3 weeks ago to the Leah Fall on Tara, which is this phallic-looking limestone monument that has been shifted. And in the middle here, we've got this interesting map, the royal lines from Zerah and Pharez, Judah. So the house of Judah, it's where Jesus Christ has his lineage. And kind of the west and the east. You can see on the left-hand side there, there's Trojans, Milesians, that was from Ireland, Scandinavia, all of that. And then on the right-hand side, it's more of the, Jerusalem biblical heroes. And if we go down from David to Solomon and Nathan, we get from Solomon King Zedekiah. And he had a daughter called Tehatepi, which means daughter of the light. And Tehatepi is associated directly with the Leah Fall. And so in the story, the mythology, they say that when Nebuchadnezzar II invaded King Zedekiah's Jerusalem, he axed it all and thus ended the line of David. And the only person to escape in that line was Tehatepi, and she hid in the cave of Solomon with prophet Jeremiah and maybe possibly her sister. And then they all escaped to Egypt, and they brought with them the Leah Fall, and they also brought with them the Ark of the Covenant, as the story goes. In Egypt, she was adopted by Pharaoh, which possibly was Akhenaten, and made an honorary daughter. And if Tehatepi was the honorary daughter of Akhenaten, her name title was changed then to Mary Tartan, which means beloved of the Aten, and the Aten is the sun disk, which is light. So she's another beloved of the light, daughter of the light, beloved of the light. Then the story goes that this character, Mary Tartan, she married a man called Goidel Glass, who was from Greece. But when you look at the etymology of Goidel Glass, it means bright, shining Irishman. And so this is where the story kind of starts splitting apart through cultures and through titles and through names and who's what and how many Mary Tartans are there and how many Tehatepis are there, and it all gets a bit like fractalized. But if we follow the pattern of the etymology of the name meanings, it shows us. And then so she married this bright, shiny Irishman who's also, forgive my pronunciation in Irish, Eodak, which means a horseman. And she got married to this character and became a royal of Ireland. Thus, if we look back to this map, family tree of Judah, when she married into the Milesian line, she joined back together the two tribes of Judah. And that's why this is so important for the Leah Fall, because she brought with her the Leah Fall to Ireland. And they say that the Leah Fall is synonymous with the Jacob's pillow, which is where Jacob's had his dream of God and the angels going up and down from heaven, and he stood on Mount Peniel, the pineal gland, and he saw the face of God, which is the brainstem. And so there's a huge, big connection that the story wants to connect to the inauguration story, because it brings it back into this royal family of the Bible through these connections.
And Judah has got the lion as a symbol.
Yeah, the red lion, which is the Welsh
No,
lion, right?
no, that's
Isn't it?
the Welsh. The Welsh is a red dragon, the Welsh flag.
Oh, yeah, I'm confused with that one.
No, the lion for me is Aslan, which is Christ.
Okay.
And I had a vision about 18 months ago in a meditation of the most incredible lion, like huge golden lion. It was like
Yeah.
incredible, yeah. So I just noticed that lion. I was, and I also think that they've, this lineage here where it leads to Elizabeth II and Philip, who I met.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
I think they hijacked all of this. The bad guys hijacked all of it
Exactly.
because Elizabeth II was
Yeah.
really the daughter of Winston Churchill.
Oh, was she there?
That's one theory. Don't quote me on it, but there's
Okay.
something. But they've, and it all connects with this hijacking and the Victoria Regina that I saw in the Stone Circle, the royals, the understanding of all these energy lines, and disrupting this flow, which is what they've done to us on a physical level, on a spiritual level, and they've done it to the earth all around us.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is like an episode of Sherlock Holmes. This.
Well, get me monocle out and let's look at the next slide.
Yeah, I might have to end soon because my brain's hurting.
Okay. Yeah, because I've got. So
we're gonna have to do a part 3.
We probably are. I mean, it's just going to keep going, but it's amazing fun. So
great.
I looked when I first looked at the site of Tara. I've made this kind of map called Tara Cell Division, and in the grayscale next to this map, it's a photograph, an aerial, and someone's marked out in circles these where the mounds are, the more subtle mounds. And I looked at this and I was like, hey, that looks like cell division to me.
Oh yeah,
This
yeah.
is the...
That's exactly what I'd think if I saw. What? How'd you know? Oh yeah, that looks like cell division.
Look down the bottom. I've got a picture of cells dividing, and can't you see the kind of correspondence?
No, I can see it. I'm just like, how you got from that to that?
Well, I see through anatomy and physiology eyes because that's my training, I guess. So
yeah.
And I'm suspicious about everything. So
well, yeah, God put you on that path to do this, obviously. Wow. Okay.
So yeah, the cell division we can. So when we it's not on that grayscale map. It's sort of gone out of the shot. But in the bottom there, we've got the Wrath, which means the ring of the royals, which is the bottom ring. Well, it's really the middle ring. We're looking at the grayscale, so it's the greater lower ring, and then within that we've got the famous sort of figure 8 mounds of Tara, right? So it's called the An Forad, and then underneath that one that's called Tek Cormac, House of the Cormac King. And so his daughter is called Grianne, and when we look up to on the grayscale scale, it's got Dorcha and Dale, but then if we flick over to the other map, we see these 3 mounds, and it's called the Wrath of Grianne, the Grianne circle. So she's the daughter. So these are the daughter cells of the king. And Grianne means love, and Grianne means grain, and Grianne means sun. So it's a seed, sun, grain of love, and it's the daughter cells. And so this is when I'm putting it together with this viewpoint of its cell division. The daughter cells are only coming from a process called meiosis, which is a cell division that is specifically relating to reproduction. Because we have mitosis, and that relates to cell division when we're making a muscle cell or a nerve cell or a bone cell, but not a reproductive cell. So reproductive cells are associated with daughter cells. So there's all that kind of stuff going on that we can begin to unpack and be like, what are the other symbols in there about cell division? And then if we look as well, if we've got that circle of the Wrath of the the royals, the lower circle, and then in a fainter circle above that we have what is called the ring of Tara, and there's a big square plonk, and that's where they've built the church, and they've broken through the membrane of the cell. You can see that, and the wrath of the synods is essentially the nucleus of that cell. And where this hill of Tara circle and the wrath of the royal circle joins together is making a vesica Pisces. And what's in the middle of that vesica Pisces? The mound of hostages. And what used to be right next to the mound of hostages? The Leophor. So that's where it should be. And it should be in the birth joining of the masculine and the feminine rings. And this is the central sort of yoni, or the immaculate conception place, where the phallic stone of the Leophor used to be. So if we look at the next slide, it will be a bit easier to see what I'm on about. I'm kind of, we probably won't get through it all because it's...
That's okay. We can do a part 3.
Alrighty. So...
In fact, this is a good place. This is a good place to stop.
Okay.
Because I'm going to run out of time today. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I'm
there's
totally,
enough brain cells for the day.
Yeah, I'm completely engrossed, and before the next one, I'm going to rewatch these videos because this is good. So yeah, guys watching, I'm sorry, I need to take a break, and I've got to go and do dad stuff, and I've got to film another show, and that's just been really amazing. Thank you, Anya. How do I take this off? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
We'll organize part 3 soon.
Yeah, I guess people want to know what's up with Tara.
Yeah, let's leave it on the cliffhanger. If you want to get in touch with Anaya, how do I say it? Anaya.
Anaya.
I call you right, Anaya.
So yeah, but my name is Anna, but my business name is Anaya Science Witch. So
yeah, so I've put a link on the screen. I'll put that in the box, and we'll see you in part 3. Thank you, Anna.
Awesome. Have a great day.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye everyone. Bye.
Bye.